Welcome back, everybody. I'm really excited for this deep dive. We're looking at a paper called A First Look at Financial Data Analysis using ChatGPT-4o. It's by researchers at the University of Texas, at El Paso, and West Virginia University. They're really exploring how this new AI model, ChatGPT-4o, can handle the complex world of finance.
It's really interesting. This is one of the first papers to look at ChatGPT-4o and financial data analysis. So we're talking brand new territory here.
Okay, so for some of us who haven't been glued to the latest in AI developments, can you give us a quick rundown of what makes ChatGPT-4o so special?
Well, you can think of ChatGPT-4. The O stands for Omni, as like a massive upgrade from the AI models we've seen before.
Mm.
This thing can process not just text, but audio and images in real time. It's like having a super fast and knowledgeable research assistant right at your disposal.
Okay, so that's pretty incredible. I mean, imagine what we can do with that. Understanding market trends, making informed investment decisions. So how did the researchers actually test ChatGPT-4o's financial skills?
So they started by fielding it historical stock data from the 30 companies in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. It spanned from 2019 to 2023. And they also added market data from Ken French's library, which is a pretty well-known source in financial research. And they just basically gave ChatGPT-4o different analytical tasks to see how it would perform.
Okay, so that sounds like a pretty big challenge. What were some of the specific tasks that they gave it?
So one of the first things they did is called zero-shot prompting. Essentially, they gave ChatGPT-4o the data without any instructions or examples. They just kind of said, hey, here's the data. Tell us what you can make of it.
So they were kind of just testing its intuition and its ability to understand financial data on its own. What happened? Was it completely lost?
Surprisingly, no. ChatGPT-4o was able to correctly identify most of the data columns, like stock tickers, trading volume, returns, all that good stuff. It even went a step further and suggested relevant analyses, like descriptive statistics, looking at the distribution of the data, even like risk and return analysis.
Wow. Okay, so that's pretty impressive for an AI that was just thrown into the deep end of financial data. But you said it identified most of the columns correctly. Were there any slip-ups?
There was one kind of interesting error. It mislabeled the column for the S&P 500 composite index return as spread return.
Hmm, interesting. What do you think that tells us about ChatGPT-4o's understanding of financial terms?
That's a really good question. It might be a simple oversight, or it could indicate that ChatGPT-4 still needs some fine-tuning when it comes to certain financial vocabulary. But it just highlights that even though AI is incredibly powerful, we need to be mindful of its limitations.
It's a good reminder that human expertise is still crucial, especially when dealing with something as complex as financial data. So what did the researchers do after this initial zero-shot test?
Well, they decided to give ChatGPT-4 some more structured tasks, like they asked it to generate summary statistics for the Dow 30 data. So
Nice.
things like the mean, median, and standard deviation of different variables.
So basically testing its ability to do some basic statistical analysis. How did it do?
The results were really fascinating. For many of the variables, ChatGPT-4o perfectly matched the results generated by Stata, which is a widely used statistical software package. However, there were some discrepancies in the values it calculated for return and volume.
That's really intriguing. Why do you think it got some right and others wrong?
It's hard to say for sure without digging deeper into the code and the model's training data. It could be that the model is still learning the nuances of financial data. Or there might be some subtle biases in the way it processes certain types of information. So this is definitely an area that warrants further investigation.
It sounds like we're really just scratching the surface of what ChatGPT-4 can do. So what other challenges did the researchers throw its way?
Well, next they asked ChatGPT-4o to create a time series plot of Microsoft's stock returns. And from 2019 to 2023, it's a pretty standard visualization in finance. So we were curious to see how the AI would handle it.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty straightforward task. Did it manage to create the plot?
This is where things took an unexpected turn. Instead of generating the visual plot, ChatGPT-4o provided like a detailed textual description of Microsoft's return trends over that period. It was surprisingly accurate and insightful, but still, no chart.
Oh, wow, that's pretty surprising. So it could analyze and describe the data, but it couldn't create like a simple line graph.
Exactly. The researchers speculated that the model's ability to generate visuals directly might still be under development.
It's a good reminder that even the most advanced AI models have their strengths and weaknesses. Sometimes the good old-fashioned charts and graphs are still the best way to visualize financial data. So where did the researchers go from there?
They decided to really push the boundaries. by asking ChatGPT-4o to analyze risk and return, specifically around the COVID-19 lockdown period in March of 2020.
Oh, that's a clever test. I mean, that period was like a roller coaster for the markets. How did ChatGPT-4o handle that challenge?
This is where we saw another impressive capability of ChatGPT-4o. Instead of just providing an answer, it generated Python code to analyze the data.
Wait, it can write code too? This AI is like turning into like a multi-talented financial analyst.
It is. However, there was a slight catch. The code it generated was a little incomplete and needed a few adjustments to work perfectly, so the researchers had to do some debugging.
So even though ChatGPT-4o can code, it still needs a human touch to ensure accuracy. What kind of risk and return analysis were they asking it to do specifically?
So they wanted ChatGPT-4o to focus on the trading days right before and after the lockdown went into effect, March 13th and March 16th, 2020. They asked it to extract the daily returns for all 30 Dow stocks on those 2 days, calculate the total return for each stock over that period, and then find the average return for all the stocks.
And once the researchers fixed the code, did it produce the correct results?
It did. After the minor adjustments, the Python code generated by ChatGPT-4o gave the same results as those calculated by Stata. So it seems ChatGPT-4o has the potential to be a powerful tool for analyzing even the most volatile market events.
That's really impressive. But I'm sure the researchers didn't stop there. What other financial challenges did they throw its way?
Well, remember how in the zero-shot prompting, ChatGPT-4o suggested calculating the Sharpe ratio? Well, they decided to put that suggestion to the test to see if it could actually calculate this important metric.
Yeah, now I know the Sharpe ratio is important, but for those of us who aren't financial experts, can you remind us what it measures?
It's essentially a way to assess risk-adjusted returns. It tells you how much extra return you're getting for each unit of risk you take on with an investment. The higher the Sharpe ratio, the better the investment, at least in theory.
So it's like comparing the potential reward to the potential risk. I'm guessing calculating the Sharpe ratio isn't exactly like a simple equation.
You're right, it's definitely a multi-step process. You have to calculate the daily excess return, which is the stock's return, minus the risk-free rate. Then you aggregate those daily returns to get the annual excess return. Then you need to calculate the annualized volatility of the stock's returns. Finally, you divide the annual excess return by the annualized volatility. So for ChatGPT-4o to get this right, it meant handling all those individual steps correctly.
Wow, that sounds like a real test of its financial capabilities. How did it do? Did it manage to calculate the Sharpe ratio accurately?
Well, it certainly gave it a try. Once again, ChatGPT-4o produced Python code to tackle this challenge. But as we've seen before, the initial code wasn't perfect.
Let me guess. More debugging was needed.
You got it. This time, the code annualized the excess returns, but not the volatilities, which is a common mistake even for experienced analysts. Plus, there was like a small hiccup with the column name. It couldn't find the date column in the Fama French data, because it was actually labeled date with a capital D.
Ah, yes. The little details can really trip you up, whether you're a human or an AI. So after they fixed those errors, did the code finally generate the correct Sharpe ratios?
It did, after those minor fixes. The results from ChatGPT-4o's code were very close to those calculated by Stata. The tiny difference was simply due to a slight variation in how the returns were annualized, but it was a negligible difference.
Okay, so ChatGPT-4o is 2 for 2 on the coding challenges so far. It's definitely showing some real potential. But I'm sure the researchers weren't done testing its limits yet. What other financial hurdles did they throw its way?
Well, next, they wanted to see if ChatGPT-4o could handle calculating market beta. It's another key metric that investors use to assess risk.
Okay, I'm sensing we're about to get into even more complex territory, but before we dive into that, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back to continue exploring ChatGPT-4's adventures in the world of finance. Okay, so we're back, and we're about to explore this concept of market beta.
Yeah, the researchers wanted to see if ChatGPT-4 could calculate market beta, which is, it measures the stock's volatility compared to the overall market.
Right, and for our listeners who may not be familiar with market beta, could you kind of break down why this is an important concept?
So it's all about understanding how much a stock's price is likely to fluctuate compared to the market as a whole. So like beta of 1 means the stock tends to move in the same direction and at the same pace as the market. If a stock has a beta higher than 1, it means it's more volatile. It experiences larger swings up and down compared to the market. And then on the other hand, a beta of less than 1 indicates a more stable stock. smaller price fluctuations.
It's like comparing a speedboat to a cruise ship. The speedboat's going to be way more sensitive to those choppy waters, while the cruise ship will offer a smoother but maybe less exciting ride.
That's a great analogy. Now, calculating beta involves a statistical technique called regression analysis, which can get a bit complex. It's definitely not a back-of-the-envelope calculation.
So how did ChatGPT-4o fare when faced with this challenge of calculating market beta?
So it actually didn't manage to directly calculate the beta values. It seems like it had some trouble inspecting the data columns properly, but it still offered up some Python code to guide the process, which is consistent with what we saw in previous tasks.
So it's like saying, I can't give you the exact answer right now, but here's the recipe you can follow to get there.
Exactly. But, as we've learned, sometimes the recipes need a little tweaking. What happened when the researchers tried to run the code for calculating market beta?
I'm guessing it wasn't a case of just like copy paste and voila, here's your market beta. What kind of issues did they encounter this time?
Well, first off, there was a slight typo in one of the variable names. The code referred to it as MKT-RF instead of MKTRF, which, is a common pitfall even for experienced programmers. It's amazing how a tiny detail like that can throw off the entire analysis.
It's like accidentally putting salt instead of sugar in your cookie recipe. One little mistake and you can completely change the outcome. So what else went wrong?
There was also a missing data point for DOW's return on April 2nd, 2019. The data entry was just null. Missing data is, a frequent headache in data analysis, and it's something that needs to be carefully addressed.
It's like having a puzzle with a missing piece. You can try to force the other pieces to fit, but ultimately you need that missing piece to complete the picture.
That's a great way to put it. So after the researchers corrected the typo and filled in the missing data point, did the code finally work?
I'm on the edge of my seat. Did ChatGPT-4o successfully calculate market beta?
It did. After those two fixes, the Python code generated by ChatGPT-4o produced market beta values that were identical to those calculated by Stata. So even though it couldn't do the calculation directly, it provided the blueprint for getting to the right answer.
So this is starting to feel like a recurring theme. ChatGPT-4o has this potential to be incredibly useful, but it still needs that human touch to guide it and ensure accuracy. It's almost like a talented apprentice learning the ropes. So what was the final challenge the researchers put forth?
For their final test, they decided to push ChatGPT-4o into the realm of advanced statistical modeling. They asked it to estimate something called an Armagar-CH model.
Okay, I'll admit that sounds pretty intimidating. Can you explain what an Armagar-CH model is and why it's important in finance?
So think of it this way. Stock prices don't just move randomly. They're often like periods of high volatility, where prices swing up and down dramatically, followed by periods of relative calm. And an Armagar-CH model helps us understand these patterns of volatility.
Okay, so if I'm a savvy investor who wants to make smart decisions, this model could help me anticipate those wild swings in the market.
Precisely. It helps analysts and investors understand and forecast how much a stock's price is likely to fluctuate over time. It's a sophisticated tool, used in a lot of financial research.
It sounds like the researchers were throwing like the AI equivalent of a graduate-level statistics exam at ChatGPT-4o. So how did it handle this complex challenge?
As you might expect, this was the toughest test yet. ChatGPT-4o wasn't able to directly estimate the model. Instead, it did what it does best. It provided Python code broken down into steps for how to estimate the model.
Okay, so once again, it provided the recipe. But did the recipe actually work? I'm guessing it wasn't without its hiccups.
You're right, there were a few obstacles along the way. The first attempt to run the code failed because it referenced a function. That had been updated in a newer version of the Python library. It's like trying to bake a cake using an outdated cookbook. Sometimes the ingredients and instructions change over time.
So even AI isn't immune to the challenges of keeping up with software updates. It's a good reminder that things are constantly evolving in the tech world. What other issues did the researchers encounter?
Well, the code also ran into problems because of duplicate data in the dataset. The market return data was repeated multiple times, which threw off the calculations. It's a common issue in data analysis. If you're not careful, duplicate data can really skew your results.
Yeah, it's like accidentally counting your money twice. You might think you have more than you actually do.
That's a great analogy. So after the researchers fixed the software update issue and cleaned up the duplicate data, did the code finally produce the correct RMA-GAR-CH model estimates?
I'm dying to know. Did ChatGPT-4o pass this final ultimate finance test?
So it came very close. But the results were still slightly different from those generated by Stata. And this difference wasn't due to an error, but rather a difference in how the two programs handle the estimation process. So SCADA estimates the ARMA and GRCH components of the model simultaneously, while the Python code estimated them sequentially.
So it's not a matter of one being right and the other wrong, but rather like a difference in approaches, like two chefs using slightly different techniques to create the same dish. Both can be delicious, just with subtle variations in flavor. But overall, it sounds like ChatGPT 4o handled these complex financial tasks remarkably well. So what are your overall impressions of ChatGPT 4's potential in the world of finance?
Well, it's been remarkable to witness ChatGPT-4o's capabilities in handling financial data analysis. It's clearly a powerful tool with immense potential. But as we've seen, it still requires human expertise to guide it, interpret its outputs, and ensure accuracy.
It seems like the future of finance might involve a collaboration between human analysts and AI assistants. What are your thoughts on this potential partnership?
Well, I think that's exactly where things are headed. AI, in this case, ChatGPT-4o is like having a tireless and incredibly fast assistant that can handle the heavy lifting when it comes to data analysis. It can sift through these massive amounts of data, identify patterns, and even generate code to help us analyze that data.
Yeah, it sounds like AI could really free up human analysts to focus on more strategic tasks like interpreting the results, making investment recommendations, and perhaps most importantly, considering the bigger picture implications of those decisions.
Absolutely. AI can definitely help us process information more efficiently and, potentially reduce errors, but it's still up to human analysts to make sense of that information, apply their knowledge and experience, and ultimately make those decisions.
It's like having a super-powered calculator that can handle all these complex calculations, but you still need a human to understand what those numbers mean and how to use them effectively. So this research paper really highlights that it balanced the incredible capabilities of AI paired with that essential role of human oversight and interpretation.
Precisely. AI can augment our abilities, but it can't replace the need for human judgment, intuition, and ethical considerations. That's why I believe this partnership between humans and AI is so crucial for the future of finance.
It's fascinating to think about all the potential applications of AI in finance. Imagine AI-powered tools that can personalize investment strategies for individuals or manage risk more effectively for institutions or even detect fraud in real time.
The possibilities are incredibly exciting, and as AI technology continues to evolve, we'll likely see even more innovative applications emerge in the financial world. I'm particularly intrigued by the potential for AI to democratize access to these sophisticated financial tools and insights.
Oh, that's a great point. AI could really help level the playing field, making it easier for individuals and smaller businesses to make informed financial decisions that were previously only accessible to large institutions with, teams of analysts.
Exactly. And, this research on ChatGPT-4o is just a glimpse of what's possible. As we continue to refine these AI models and develop new ones, the potential for positive impact on the financial landscape is immense.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive. We've learned so much about ChatGPT 4o and its potential in, the world of financial data analysis. It's clear that AI is poised to play a significant role in the future of finance, and I'm personally excited to see how this technology continues to evolve. But as we've discussed, it's crucial to remember that AI is a tool, and like any tool, its impact depends on how we choose to use it.
I couldn't agree more. It's an exciting time to be in finance, and I'm really eager to see how this collaboration between humans and AI unfolds in the years to come.
And to our listeners, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What are some other potential applications of AI in finance that you find exciting or concerning? What role do you think human expertise will play in this evolving landscape? Leave us a comment and let's keep this conversation going. Until next time, stay curious.